Good evening, boys and girls. It is Friday Junior. It is the day before the new year. What a year it has been. The Highbury squad are here. It's tactical squad. And tonight we mix it up. We got Jessinho in the house. Let's go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
All right. Good evening, kids. We know it's a football night and many of you will be watching and replaying this on replay. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys are having a good week in between Christmas and New Year. Welcoming back my podcast brother from another mother. He's been so busy, he hasn't had time to take the dicky bow off today, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Sophie, I've got to say, it feels like a shiny show today. Look at this. Everyone in black. I love it. Everyone in black was shining.
It's just a thermal. It's nothing special, but I'm glad I at least got the color memo.
Well done, Jess. You are wearing the Highbury squad gear for 100%. Welcome back to the show. Looking as fabulous as ever. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. And this is, going to be a fun conversation. As usual.
Yes, it's always a fun conversation with you. Good evening to all the squaddies. Kev, remiss of me, and we got a welcome.
It's all right. We got time. It's all right to do the squaddies.
Okay.
Welcome. After all this time, it seems so long ago. At ease, everybody, and let's do it.
Let's do it. We've got a massive game on New Year's Day. We're going to try and get you guys out of here, those who are in live chat, so you can watch the second half of hopefully Manchester United losing. And look, this is it. Our manager's out, half the coaching team's out. But you know what? The good news is our players are ready, hopefully, to play this game. And Jess, we've invited Jess on to talk us through how she thinks that we can beat Manchester City, talking it through with Super Kevin Campbell. So, Kev, I'm not going to delay here. Jess sent me her team hot off the press just a few minutes ago. She doesn't think, usually we do the tactical squad members team and then Mikel Arteta's team. But Jess is pretty confident that her team will be Mikel's team. And AirPod Albert on the sidelines. By the way, Albert, a very old school name, isn't it? It's kind of like, very precious. Anyway, Kev, here's the squad. Are you ready? I have it written, not on a pick.
That's cool.
All right. So we've got Ramsdale, White, Holding, Gabriel, Tierney, Xhaka, Partey, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, and Lacazette. And Jess wrote to me, and I quote, Arteta will choose the same lineup. Tommy hasn't trained to her knowledge and to all of our knowledge. Doesn't look like Tommy's going to be ready for this one. Kev, what's your take on Jess's team? And do you agree that you think this will be the team that our COVID manager will field?
Yeah, I do. I think he likes to keep continuity. And because Tommy has been injured with a slight, I think he's a calf. He's not going to risk him. There's no point risking him in this one. There's a lot of opportunities coming up in the new year. So I do think Jess has got it right with the team. I think especially the front boys are playing really well. And, the anchor in midfield has been experienced, just doing enough. Don't need to take over games. But it's that back five. They're the key for this game.
So, Jess, talk us through the team. Of course, this is other than Tommy. This is the team. What are you laughing at?
Harvey says.
Where's Harvey? Listen. Super Kevin Campbell left me every morning. Wait till you hear tomorrow's show. You'll see. Jess, the key is this team have scored like 101 goals in the last 4 games. They're 8 points clear at the top. This isn't the old Arsenal that Kev and the early Wenger era and George Graham's teams used to batter City when they were in the top flight. It's been very different these last few years. How do you think, without our manager on the sideline, can we challenge or at least get something out of this game?
Well, let's just keep it 100. It's going to be very difficult to get a win. Yeah, very difficult to get a win, even a draw. I just think that even when you watch Man City, even when they're not particularly playing well, there's some games where you're looking at them and like, oh, not really scoring the goals. There's always a gear there that they can go up and just kill you. They can score for fun. They're very disciplined. They're very together. They know that they can get daylight between them and the next two teams fighting for that title by winning a couple more matches. You know how Pep is in January. He's like, I can pretty much write Man City on the title if I just get through January and accumulate points. So it's going to be a really difficult game. But, thinking on the positive side, we're in really good form. And it's different than when we faced Liverpool, I think, earlier on in the season, where we were kind of like, this is going to be the chance for us to really, come into that game and compete. We didn't have Xhaka in the team. We didn't have Tierney in the team. Thomas Partey was out of form, and Aubameyang was there. Now we have kind of like a settled group of players that look really confident. So I guess for me, when I was kind of thinking about this before I came on, I was just thinking, be confident, be brave, but don't be stupid. We've played them before and beat them in the FA Cup. And I know that that's kind of like a different scenario, because in a cup game, it's kind of like go out there and just do whatever because it's do or die. But I kind of feel like you need to have that mentality this time, because nobody expects you to win. And the Spurs match is actually the one that I feel like is more important. So I think if we're brave, but not stupid, meaning playing our game, but making sure you make the right decisions, like jump with your marker, track your runners, don't overpress, don't come out of your position. When you get chances, finish them. There might be an opportunity there for us. And we have the 12th man. We're at home. That's different than playing at Anfield or playing at the Etihad. So there is a chance. I'm still going to be watching this behind the sofa, but I'm going to be watching it behind the sofa. But I think if we're brave but smart, we could potentially get something out of this game, but it's going to be really difficult, and we have to be almost perfect.
Kev, when Jess says don't be stupid, I think we know what she's talking about, but what's your interpretation of us not being stupid? Because in the FA Cup, we've owned them. And when we haven't been able to duplicate that in the league. And let's be honest, Man City are a very different team in cup competitions to the league. There's a juxtaposition to both of us. It's like we're better one-on-one in a one-off game, and they're not. And that's proven in the FA Cup, not the League Cup as much, but the Champions League for sure. What's your interpretation of us not being stupid?
Well, it's making elementary mistakes, like passing the ball across our back four, and giving them opportunities, not getting the ball forward quick enough into Lacazette and making good runs off him, not defending properly, because we've seen what happens when you don't defend against this team. We got done 5 at their place, and we played 5 at the back. So if you've got all those defenders back there and you still defend poorly, they're going to punish you. Make no mistake. The key to it, as I said, is the back 5 and probably Thomas Partey and Xhaka. They have to be disciplined in what they do. Can't be stupid. Can't run away and leave the midfield open, because as soon as you turn it over, they will come through you and they will hurt you. I think watching the Brentford game, Brentford done pretty well against them. But Brentford were happy for long spells to sit back and try and catch them on the counter-attack. Maybe that might be something we look at. But I particularly remember us playing them last season, and we lost 1-0, Sophie. And Arsenal fans were going crazy. We lost 1-0, but we didn't go for it. It's a fine line. You start going for it and start opening up, and they take you apart. Then you complain about, oh, we got smashed. We're not good enough. No, we've got to be smart how we how we conduct ourselves and how we play.
I may have been one of those folks that said I'd rather lose 4-0 and go for it than lose.
Well, I must say
Lose
so.
1-0.
I must say the oven is still
Oh,
on.
you're doing your little Santa.
No,
little
the oven
scratch
is
right
still
here.
on. The oven is still on, Sophie.
Half bake, half
Sophie,
bake, half
Sophie,
bake.
look.
Oh my God, that is so epic. What is
Well, I
it?
did say to you, I'm going to come with something a little bit different.
I
Jess
hope
is on.
Arsenal come with
Jess
that
is
kind
on.
of line.
We've got to bring the light. You've got to shine like me. You know what I mean?
Jess,
I love
mean,
it.
is it worth coming on the show just for this moment with Super Kev,
Pretty
who
much.
has a lit Dicky Bow on, Dicky Bow Thursday?
It had to be done.
Pretty much. That's amazing. I love it.
And squaddies, you wait for Kev says tomorrow. I'll tell you. Because I've already recorded questions.
Well, you just lit the 200 folks in live chat on fire here, Kev,
Love
with
that.
your channeling for Tom. You're channeling the movie Tron.
Yeah.
Electrifying. I mean, does he ever? He never ceases to amaze at us, does he? Even Newman is shook with the old neon bow tie here. Oh my God, I don't know where to go right now, but you've made me completely lose my train of thought, Super Kev. You didn't tell me about this, Jess.
Well, we're hoping we could do this to Man City. We could distract them a little bit.
Surprise them.
I'd love us to go a goal up.
How do we do it? And I wanted to
Go
put this
a
comment
goal up. Soph.
The first goal is so
We're at
important.
home. Go a goal up.
Also, Jess, like this is where the old kind of thought process with Arsenal comes in, which we haven't had to think about for too long, is don't concede early, right? Because with City, especially, I think where we're concerned, you concede early, you go back to the old mental state of they're gonna just trounce us now. And JJ had a comment up earlier. I'll try and find it, but he's talking about how hard it's going to be without Tomiyasu. So the first 20 minutes of the game, I would even say the first 10 minutes of the game, are so important that we don't concede.
Yeah, we know how it is. If you give up a goal in those first couple of minutes, I think last time that we did play them at home, we gave up a goal in the first minute, and that was Rob Holding not jumping with Raheem Sterling. So we know that first goal is going to be really important. When we played against Liverpool away from home, we gave up a goal, I think, right at the beginning of the second half. Against Man United, we gave up a goal right at the beginning of the second half. So it's important for us not to give up our concentration in those first 5 to 10 minutes of the first half, 5 to 10 minutes of the second half. And yeah, I think that's going to be super important. And something else, when Kevin was saying about Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey, I do agree with that it's going to be really important for them. But somebody else who it's going to be really important for is Lacazette. I think all of the senior players are going to have to really hold their weight. It's one thing to play well against Norwich and Southampton and, in these teams, but this is really when you need your senior players. Lacazette is a part of that. And although I don't think he does the ghost-like performances that Aubameyang has done, I do think that he needs to step up. He's a huge part. That whole entire spine needs to show up for us to win this game or get something out of it. And part of that concentration at the beginning of halves and at the end of halves is going to come from those senior players taking control and not letting the younger players kind of lose their way, because they're still really young, right? So they could get taken up in the environment and the excitement. So it's going to be those senior players that need to do their thing.
Kev, this could be a signature game for the Arsenal. JJB was on last night, Jordan Jarrett Bryan, and we talked about, if we win this game, do we start getting a little bit more respect, right? Because everyone keeps saying, well, you beat Norwich, well, you beat, Newcastle, you beat XX and X. We've also beaten Villa, we've beaten Leicester, we've trounced Tottenham, but we've done that in spurts, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, kind of lacking in the second half, letting teams come in, sitting back too much, kind of not killing off games, but yet we've been able to get ourselves going on another run here. I want to ask you, and I want to go back to the cup versus the league. What's the difference between the 2017 semi-final FA Cup, the 2020 semi-final FA Cup? Why can't we apply that logic to how we beat them in those two games to this game? and thinking maybe we even have better talent now, younger, they're mature, but obviously we have a naivety to us at times.
That's the difference. The difference is when you look at the teams that won, they were a lot more experienced than the team are now. And it's the easiest thing in the world to say, why don't we just apply what we done then to now? They were cup games, and in the cup, the whole psyche of it is different because it's win and go home. It's win or go home. That's it. So you have to try and obviously get through it, no matter how, hook or by crook. You try and get into the final, get into the next round, whatever. In the league, the mindset is it's a grind. You know it's a grind, and you're gonna play the better teams. The great thing for Arsenal is Arsenal are in a good vein of form right now. Very good vein of form. But Manchester City are in a good vein of form as well. So we'd much rather to play them when they're struggling a little bit. But, can we trigger them to be struggling? Again, I think Jess is quite right. Our experienced players have to turn up. But just like when we played West Ham, Thomas Partey and Xhaka have to use all their experience in that midfield to stabilize this team. They don't need to go running around all over the place, but they really need to step up and play well in this game to stabilize it. Because what Manchester City want to do, they want to pull you apart that way so they can get runners going through you. If we do that, they will kill us. So what we've got to do, we've got to shift together, side to side. And when we get the opportunity to break the ball up, we break it up like we did in the Cups. We frustrated them. And what we had, Sophie, we were so dangerous on the break. That was the difference. We had a bit of a cutting edge at the top end of the pitch. And that's what we're going to need. We're going to need our speed. We're going to need our smarts. And we're going to need to be clinical if we're to get anything out of the game.
Okay. So Jess, they've lost twice this season. What did the two teams that beat them, what can we duplicate, or why do you think they lost those two games? Like, they've been so prolific since those losses. Talk us through that a little bit.
One of those was the Spurs match, correct?
Yes.
Who else did they lose to?
One was Palace. The other
Palace.
Palace?
Yeah.
So I'll take Spurs as the example. I think that at that time, Nuno was managing them. And I remember a lot of people were talking about how they were really brave to leave players up high and kind of almost go man to man with their center backs. So when they did try to break, it was equal man. You know, how we usually, when we play, we get really compact, we break things up, but nobody's kind of up top. This is when you're going to need to bargain a little bit and say, okay, well, instead of just leaving Lacazette up there in between Ruben Diaz and Laporte, which is going to be a difficult game for him because those are two top center backs and they can easily just take him out of the game, is do you leave a Martinelli up high? Do you leave Saka up high? And make sure you have numbers equal to Man City, because a lot of times they play with three. They just play with Fernandinho dropping in between those center backs, play with three. We're going to need to gamble a little bit. And I think when you do break up the ball or you do break up the play, like Kev has already said, then you play it into Lacazette, and that's where your Saka and your Martinelli, when they get those opportunities, they have to take them. A lot of the differences between what we've done and what like a Spurs has done, like against Man City, is when they do get the opportunities, they're clinical. And against Liverpool, we did have chances early on in the first half to create chances, and we didn't do it because we lacked composure in the final third. So for me, it's like, well, we know we're going to be compact. We know Xhaka and Thomas Partey are not going to be able to have the freedom to move forward. Tierney may have to be a little bit more reserved on that left-hand side. But do you gamble and leave a Martinelli and Saka up? And then when you play them in through, are they going to have that composure? I think that's the difference. But that's really all that they did, was just went man to man, basically, with Man City center backs and the center midfielder that was dropping in. And it worked out for them because when it broke free, they had the numbers up there to really make Man City scared. One thing about Man City that they do not have in that back line, they'll have it because Kyle Walker will be there, but in their center backs, they don't have speed. And what we have is a little bit of speed up there with Bukayo Saka and Martinelli. So I think that would be our best possible chance. But again, when you get that 1 or 2 chances like Brentford had, you kind of have to put them away. And that's always been the difference for me.
Kev, what do you think of what Jess is saying too? And a little bit like Pep's teams, whether it was Bayern or Barca, the teams that kind of went at them that were a bit more fearless. But like Jess said at the beginning, we don't want to be stupid, but at the same time, you see Brentford, you see Palace, you see Tottenham, play a little bit fearless against them. We showed too much respect to Manchester United. We've done that before. That's the game that hurts for me the most this season so far, is that game at Old Trafford. It just stings when I think about it. What's your take on what Jess said, and also that respect factor where obviously Arteta and Pep have a relationship, they're the champions of England. You can't just bend over. You know what I mean?
No, but they've earned their respect. Wherever they go, they've earned their respect. You respect them as a team, but you're gonna have to need to punch them in the mouth. That's what you're gonna need to do. I mean, when you look at what Crystal Palace done to them, Crystal Palace really played them smart. They played Zaha off the left, kind of inside, so he was running from a closer proximity to the centre back. And you saw, I think it was Laporte pulled him down because Zaha was in. And they've got a tendency to do that, Laporte. He's quite rash at times. So we've got to ask them questions. So Jessie's exactly right what she's saying. We have to be a little bit clever. We have to be smart, and we have to use what we've got. We've got to use our speed when the time's right. And there are times where we're going to need our wide players, Saka, Martinelli. We're going to need them back because they're going to have to double up because they're fullbacks.
Yeah.
Push on. So we have to play smart. We have to play honest. But when we get the chance, we have to take it. We have to punish them.
Yeah. And I wanted to put James' comment up. All 3 of Leicester's goal were on the counter and trapping Cancelo. Honestly, we've just got to wait and not do anything stupid and give the ball to Martinelli and Saka. Arsenal 2, Man City 1. It's happening. Peter says the 2 wide men need to try and sit between the fullback and the centre-back. Also, with Cancelo playing more as an inverted wing-back, might need to focus some of our play in these areas. I wanted to get to the Rob Holding thing because there's a lot of comments in the chat, and a couple of people sent us some messages earlier today, a few more than a couple, talking about Rob Holding, Jess. And I wanted to get your take on that with regards to him coming in, not having Tommy. Is that the weakest link? Is that the biggest concern versus Xhaka and Partey in midfield playing against Man City's midfield for you?
I would say Rob Holding's probably the weakest link because he just hasn't really been playing in the team, and he's not the best defender. He does okay in low block situations, but when it comes to playing out of the back, he doesn't have the same range of passing as Ben White. And then you have to shunt Ben White off into the right. And I think that he did a decent Tommy impression against Norwich, but it's going to be different this time around. I think Ben White's going to be pinned back a little bit more. I don't think he's going to be gallivanting into the final third as much. So I do think Rob Holding is a little bit of a concern, especially because of how all I can really think about the last time that we played them at home was him not jumping against Raheem Sterling. That's all I can really think about. But if we do get pushed back and we do have to kind of defend in a 4-4-2 or whatever, and it gets compact, that's actually where Rob Holding is at his best. I don't really worry about him so much when he's closer to the goal and he's doing last-ditch tackles and stuff like that and heading the ball out. It's that little lapse of concentration that he had at the beginning of the game, last time that we played them at home. But it does hurt us a little bit with our playing out of the back. Gabriel will be doing a lot more of that. He's not as good as Ben White for me playing the ball out of the back, but he's decent. And then you have Ramsdale. And, I mean, it's a good thing that we bought a goalkeeper that can play the ball out of the back because we're going to have to do it a little bit. So Rob Holding, it worries me a little bit. But what worries me more is just Ben White not being in his right position and then maybe targeting him a little bit or that side a little bit because we don't have the continuity there. So yeah, it's a little bit of a concern, but not so much where it's not Pablo Marie and Rob Holding and said Kolasinac all back there doing their thing. It's one person, you know.
That's a good point. And
so can I just say as well
absolutely
about Rob Holding? Do you remember? It was a couple of years ago now, where Raheem Sterling scored a header. He's right with him, and Raheem Sterling, probably
towered
one of the smallest
him.
Guys, he headed it in.
So that was last season. Was that last season?
I think
or
it
the
was
season
last
before?
season.
Yeah,
it was last season. These are the things that we can't allow them to score headers. They scored Gundogan scored a header at Etihad. We've got big guys at the back and they're winning the balls. They're heading it. This is crazy. This is crazy. The key to it is we have to defend properly.
Yeah.
We cannot give away simple goals. If they have to work hard for it and they score, fair enough. But we can't just allow them to do what they want. We've got to be a lot more stiff and stern.
Okay, to both of you guys, though, how much of a different team are we now than we were when we got smashed 5-0 at the beginning of the season?
Much different, I think.
Totally. Yeah.
Like I was kind of saying before, I think that we're even different to the team that got smashed against Liverpool because of key players. I know that this is probably not the best thing to say. I know, Sophie, this will make you be like, but we're much better since Granit Xhaka came back into the team. I think
you and I talked about this earlier, Jess.
I knew he'd come on the straight show. Back in.
Yep.
And it's just when Sambi and Tavares did great, but there's just something about the solidity that you have with Granit and Tierney. I think they've made a huge difference. And then Lacazette and the difference between having Martinelli and Aubameyang, it's just we're different. And it just has all come together and gelled in a way where it feels like the type of football that we thought we'd be playing under Arteta all of a sudden is right there. We're not having questions around, can we score an open play? Can we sustain attacks? Can we play one-touch football? Can Thomas Partey and Xhaka, run the midfield on their own? Like, we don't have these questions anymore because I think key players have come back in. Is this team different enough to smash City? I don't think so, but it's definitely different than the team that lost 5-0 because I think it was like almost the entire team is different. Almost the entire team is different.
When we talk about Xhaka on this show, so Kev, we had quite a few comments on YouTube this week about how we're Xhaka haters, and Jordan got a few last night too. As you know, I defended him for such a long time, right? He's done stupid things. And the point on the show last night was his mistakes have been so big and so glaring in moments where it's cost the team. And when you're looking at senior players to be leaders, he's been a liability. But with that said, I think one of the toughest parts for Arsenal fans is to actually kind of stop and think exactly what Jess said. And we would do when we were on Lee's show, and then when Jess was a guest earlier this season on the show, about how with all of this youth coming through, you still need that seniority, that experience, whether or not there's going to be liable moments in a game. I know that you don't want him at the club, but I don't want to talk about Xhaka, but he has become an important part of this team with Arteta, and Arteta trusts him.
Sophie, you know my stance on him, but like when you asked me before the West Ham game, who would I want to partner Thomas Partey? Who did I say? I said Xhaka. Why? Because he's got the experience. Not that he's such a fantastic player, but he's got experience and he gives it balance. It's really important to Thomas Partey. You could see Thomas Partey starting to come more into his game now that Granit Xhaka's there. Granit Xhaka tends to play a bit further forward as well, which he's not a holding player, Granit Xhaka. Whereas Partey tends to do that holding part, and he then could feed Granit Xhaka the ball. Granit Xhaka, like I said, I've been falling off my chair because he's been playing forwards, Sophie.
No, it's a miracle, isn't it? But
even the bow tie's flashing now. I don't know if the battery's going or what, but Granit Xhaka playing the ball forward, Sophie, is incredible to me because normally he plays sideways. So if we're going to keep winning, Sophie, listen, I just want Arsenal to win. My personal thing about him, what happened, I would say that about any player that done that. Don't care who they are.
Kev and Jess, doesn't this have a lot to do with Aubameyang being dropped? Like, we've been so much better without him. We've been so much more fluid without him. Jess, you're smiling here, and Kev's bow tie's going off the charts. But the truth is, we've scored so many goals. We've won. We're playing with, dare I say, a little bit more speed because of how Lacazette holds up the ball or he runs the channels, and you've got Martinelli. Jess?
Sophie, we've been playing better without him since last season. Like, this is not new. These are not new facts. Like, and it may have been marginal just because, you know, Saka and ESR weren't really scoring goals the way that they are now. But the fluidity that we've been playing with came last season when Lacazette was playing through the middle and you had some combination of Pepe, Saka, or ESR on either side of him. And so seeing this is not really that shocking. And I hate to say it, but sometimes it just kind of felt like either we're playing with a man down sometimes with Aubameyang because he's, if you look at the way Martinelli plays, I think it's a combination of Lacazette being through the center and Martinelli playing off of the left because you're getting the right balance, but Martinelli just works harder. You know, a lot of people were commending Aubameyang for his work rate early on in the season. Martinelli does that with his eyes closed, and we're benefiting from it. So it's not really to kick Aubameyang because I think ultimately we haven't played to his strengths. So the players that we are going to play to their strengths, those are the ones that kind of need to be playing. And right now it's the group that's playing now. But this is not the first time that we've seen this. It's just now that those players are scoring goals, we don't have to refer back to Aubameyang because he's our best striker anymore.
Yeah,
it's kind of just like that.
That's a great point. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit and ask you guys a couple different questions, and then we'll get some predictions in. We'll try and get everyone out to watch the second half. Although I'm hearing Man United are winning, so you know who cares. Maturity versus naivety has been kind of one of my running themes this season, and I think with a young team, I think we have young players who are mature. I think Phil Foden is a phenom. He's a very special player. You take Foden and Grealish. Off the pitch, though, off the field, they have a little bit of that naughty boy vibe to them. You know, Phil Foden has been in trouble under the England setup. We've seen Grealish be in trouble before, and Pep wasn't having it a couple of weeks ago where they both went out, especially during this time, kind of partying. They're playing for one of the best teams in the world under one of the best managers in the world. You're playing at a certain level. Am I crazy to think, for me, the level of maturity that Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe have over Foden and Grealish is here and they're here. So I wanted to ask you guys in the 300 people in live chat, if I had my druthers and someone asked me, and I'm asking you guys, Foden and Grealish over Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe, I'm taking my Arsenal rose-coloured glasses off. I would pick Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe, even though I would desire Foden's talent, but maybe not his mental and how he deals with things off the pitch. What's your take on that? What would you like if you had your druthers? Jess, I'll start with you.
It's a difficult one because what level are they, like when you see Foden and Grealish, it depends on what they're doing.
Like, I guess Foden's still performing on the pitch, isn't he? Even though he's been a bit of a naughty boy, he's still doing it. Whereas Grealish hasn't lit the fireworks yet, has he? Really?
Yeah, I'm a little bit like, okay, I do think being disciplined and all of that makes a huge difference. But when Foden is a special talent, and as long as he's performing on the pitch, it's gonna be difficult for me to say like, yeah, replace him with Smith-Rowe, who I think is just a little bit further behind in his development. But I'd take Saka over Grealish in a heartbeat. I don't think Grealish does much. Like, he hasn't really kicked on at Man City, and it is what it is. So if I could just split it up, I would just say Saka and Foden, because Foden is phenomenal talent. Grealish hasn't really kicked on, but Saka could do what Grealish is doing. But I get what you're saying about the discipline and wanting to make sure that your players have the right mindsets. And it's also like, what are they doing? You know, what are they doing? Like, okay, they went out and they got a little drunk, whatever. There's different levels of naughtiness. And I feel like that can be kind of slap on the wrist and move on versus like maybe what Foden and Greenwood did, like with the England setup. I think that was a little bit different what they were doing. So I don't know. It depends, but I'm not too much of like a disciplinarian because I think it's important depending on what they've done and how they perform. And Foden's still performing, and he's the best young player in the world.
He's so exciting. He's a beautiful player. I mean, Kev, he's got so much talent. It's ridiculous. I want, like, as a senior player in the dressing room, are you slapping those two and saying, look, when no?
Why would you? They're young lads, and you tell me who hasn't done it. They never broke no rules. That's what you never hear Pep say that they broke any rules. The thing with Pep is he's got the opportunity to drop these guys because of the squad he's got. I wonder what would happen.
Then why did he make an example of them then? If that's the case, then why do that?
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Because he can do that. Because he's got the squad. He's got the pieces to put in the team. The team then go on and win 7. And they've had a little slap. That's all right. He can do that. But what happens? Look, they still get put back in the team. So it's not as if he's really reprimanding them, is he? So, again, I think the way Arsenal are set up with Xhaka and Smith Rowe, they suit Arsenal best. And I think Grealish and Foden suit Man City best. Nobody can tell me Grealish is not a top player. And he will come good at Manchester City, whether it's this season or next season. He's too talented a player. It's the first time he's ever been around that type of quality.
It's easy to shine in a team you're the most talented guy, but then when you go...
Not always.
Yeah, I mean, the jury's out when...
No, not always, Sophie, not always. We've seen Thierry Henry struggle at our place. We've seen Bergkamp struggle at our place. We've seen Pires struggle at our place. It didn't just happen overnight. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But do you know what? They can get around it because they've got so many quality players.
It depends on what they're doing. Yeah. And the age as well. Like, if it's Aubameyang, you're like, bro, you're 32.
Yeah, he's 32. It's a great point.
It's like...
Yeah, he's so immature. Right. Our token Spurs fan, Ethelston, well done. Always showing up. Come on, dude. Really?
Yeah, England. He means England.
Yeah, why next season? We do love to give Ethelston a bit of shit because he's actually a likable Tottenham fan. Hello, Jenny. How you doing? Hope Russ is behaving.
Jenny, stick him outside.
Put him out in the cold.
Put him out in the garden.
In the corner. Right. I want to get you guys on a few things in my hot topic quick fire round as well. And then a very quick half-term report too before we duck out with our predictions. The Xhaka interview that he did this week, was it necessary? And it's tying into my captain, right? Because Lacazette's leaving. This is auditioning. Arsenal players are auditioning to be captain now. I believe Mikel Arteta is, checking everyone out. He's looking for the leaders to step up. For me, I wouldn't be adverse to Odegaard being captain. I like him. I think he's going to have a big part to play in this squad. But the Xhaka interview this week, just a few days ago, by the way, I love the quote where he says, Lacazette is never too late. I thought that was genius. I mean, well done, Xhaka. Thought that was hilarious. But also, Jess, I was thinking, is this a bit of a PR move because we know what might be coming? And if it does come and Arteta makes him captain again, and I asked this question to Kev before, but I'm re-asking it because of the interview, because I'm thinking, are they laying down the foundation for that move? What's your take?
It's a tough one. Actually, I liked the interview or whatever. I thought it was interesting and insightful. And I don't have anything against Granit. I just think we know what he is. And it's whether or not the club is brave enough to move away from him. We all know what he is. This is as good as he can do. So if the club's not brave enough, then that's on them. But Arteta has to live and die on that hill. But it could be potentially, like, would I be shocked if he was Arsenal captain next season? No. But I would I would think that we would move away from that and maybe go with an Odegaard or somebody a little bit more fresh and new, because we kind of been there and done that with Xhaka. And I worry that if Xhaka were to become the captain, that would mean that he'd be playing loads and loads of games, which would kind of lead me into like, so are we not going to bring in a midfielder to replace him? Are we not going to upgrade it? Are we going to bring in somebody and drop Thomas Partey, which is my biggest anxiety. So it's kind of like what's going on, but would I be surprised? No. But what I have come to the conclusion is that although he got the extension over the summer, and I thought it was to protect his value, reading that interview made me kind of think that he ain't going nowhere. And we weren't just protecting his value. Arteta actually convinced him to stay at Arsenal for the next couple of years. So can I see him as some sort of like rotational figure in the team? Not right now. But again, like there are levels that we could go up without Granit. And making him the captain kind of makes me think that he would be starting every single game, because your captain usually does. And that limits our ceiling on the pitch. And that would worry me. But Arteta really likes Xhaka. So it's whether or not is Arteta more pro Xhaka, and Xhaka is more important than improving the midfield and going to the next level. I think Arteta's too much of a football man to not make that move and move forward. That's what I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, Kev. It's possible. Anything's possible in football. Unfortunately, Man United are 2-0 up. 3 weeks off, a bit rusty old Burnley, aren't they? Anyway, can't rely on anyone to do anything these days. Kev, another report. I'm going to get you guys on some one more Arsenal thing, and then I want you guys on a couple of bigger stories out there that are non-Arsenal related. The Saka to Liverpool rumor, garbage. Everyone's panicking. We got a few messages about that. I mean, just when they're starting to falter a little,
even the tie says it. That ain't happening. Come on. Geez.
I mean, what nonsense is that? I just talk about someone trying to manufacture a story.
Yeah, paper talk.
But we did talk about trying to disrupt our players.
Exactly, trying to unsettle what we do. He's going to start, and before you know it, Smith Rowe's going to be linked somewhere because he's on the bench and all this nonsense. Back up, people. It's not happening. Absolute nonsense.
Okay, both of you, Lukaku's comments just a little bit ago. I do love the United-Chelsea meltdown that's happening. Just a little bit. They take so much joy in when the Arsenal are having a meltdown, Super Kev and Jess. And Lukaku's comments, he comes out and talks about, I'm going to be professional. I'm going to get on with it. I don't like what he's doing, but I'm going to be professional. Yet does a super unprofessional thing and goes public, Jess. What's your take on the Chelsea mini meltdown and Lukaku coming out, apparently talking about his boss, which was 3 weeks ago before he started 2 games in a row and scored as well?
Ha That's kind of how I feel about it. I can't lie. Like it's funny because whenever we're going through something, they always are talking about it, and they're always doing videos about how Arsenal are in a mess. So are you. Everybody goes through things. And even though it was a couple of weeks ago, he said that he wanted to play for Inter again in his prime. Last time I checked, Lukaku was 29. Prime is now, buddy. So it just feels unprofessional. It feels like there's something going on. Originally, when, Tuchel came in, the stories had kind of already came out, when people were doing research on him, that he does have bust-ups of players. He does have issues with the board. We all kind of know that Lukaku wasn't their first choice. They wanted Haaland, and Chelsea have this weird thing where managers do well, but then they don't back them, and they kind of give them whatever players and say, deal with it. And so there may just be a little bit of that. Lukaku hasn't really hit the ground running at Chelsea. And when I watch him play, I just feel like, does he really fit what they're doing right now? And so there may just be a little bit of like, what are we doing? We just spent $100 million on this dude. System doesn't fit him. And they're under pressure because Tuchel was put on a very high pedestal, and they're sitting in second at the moment, but they're not really playing to the level that I think people thought that they would. They thought that they'd be title challengers, and second is not necessarily challenging for a title when the points don't match up. So it's just a little bit of drama that I love. Where's my popcorn? And I think they'll be fine or whatever, but like it's just funny watching somebody else go through things because they make it seem like it's just us only. Y'all go through stuff too, you know.
Yeah,
So
no,
we'll see
I
what
love
happens.
to. You love to see it. You do, and I mean, they've actually capitulated since Ben Chilwell's been injured, which I never saw coming. By the way, I did not see that coming, but he was on fire, Kev, beforehand. And Tuchel's a double European trophy winner. I don't want to hear it about the manager. You can't do that as a
Why?
player. If an
Why
Arsenal,
not? Hold on.
if
Why not?
if an Arsenal,
You were lauding him, Sophie. You
and
were
rightly
lauding
so,
him, and
and
rightly
rightly
so.
so.
But look what's happened, and look who they've dropped points against.
If an Arsenal player did that, you'd be backing Arteta and you would be absolutely
Sophie,
ripping the Arsenal player to
Sophie,
shreds.
I'm on about the results.
Like a John Deere lawnmower.
Sophie,
Shreds.
I am on about the results.
Oh,
Look
so
who-
it's the you
look-
always say it's the players, so now it's the
No.
manager's fault. Very convenient, Mr. Kevin Campbell.
Hold on a minute. I said, look at the results. You were telling me he's the best around. Now,
Well,
remember when we dropped
hello,
points?
he has been.
Hold on. When we dropped points against little teams, you were going crazy. Where's the problem with Tuchel now? They've got a squad that should be right up there challenging in this league. There's no way they should be 8 points off the lead. No way. No chance. Yet
Kev.
they're dropping points at home against the Brightons and all that of this world.
So it's the manager's fault now, not the players, right?
No, hold, Sophie.
Sorry,
hold
Kev.
on.
I'm not letting
No,
you
Sophie,
off.
Sophie,
You can
hold
light
on a
that bow
minute.
tie up as brightly as you like.
Sophie, hold on. All I'm saying is, when it was Arsenal, it not getting the results, you battered the manager. You did. So
Yes.
why can't you batter Tuchel?
Because he's won the Champions League and the
So
Super
what?
Cup.
No,
And-
but you
and-
always said to me, Mikel Arteta
Oh, you
won
can
the
have
FA
it your
Cup.
way, but I can't have it my way.
Hold on. Mikel Arteta won the FA Cup, and that was brownie points. But it's about what have you done for me
Here we
lately?
go with the flip-flop comments. No, Kevin. I'm sorry. He's won the Champions League and the Super Cup. They've been
that
on
was
fire all
last
season. They
We're
have a
talking
terrible
about this
injury to
season.
Ben Chilwell. A player like Lukaku should not be coming out and calling his manager out like that. It's embarrassing.
Sophie,
He says he's a professional. If an
Sophie,
Arsenal, you
Sophie, we're
backed
talking about two
Arteta over
different things.
Aubameyang. No,
Sophie, we're
no,
talking
Kevin.
about two different things, Sophie.
No, I'm not having it.
Sophie,
Jess?
I am talking about the results. You are talking about Lukaku. Are you going to speak about what I'm speaking about, or do you want me to then move on to Lukaku without you answering?
What Lukaku did is embarrassing, is it not? It's unprofessional.
No, it's not embarrassing.
Oh, so if
not.
Aubameyang did that, so you're fine with Aubameyang, like calling him out and backing Arteta, but now Lukaku is not embarrassing, what he did.
Sophie, listen. These top players are in the position to do and say what they want. Don't forget, they have to be managed as well. And when things are going well, Sophie, you never hear anything come out. When things start going wrong, that's when you always start to hear things going on at a football club. And let me just tell you as well, Sophie, Ben Chilwell weren't always playing.
Hold on a second. I've backed Arteta over Aubameyang. I
I
don't know
never
what
said
people
you
in chat are
didn't.
talking
When have-
about.
When
I've
have I
backed
said
him.
you didn't?
You just said I've called out the manager beforehand.
No, when he's lost and dropped points against certain teams. That's what I said.
There's a big difference between Arsenal and 8th and 8th to being Chelsea Football Club who've won 2 Champions Leagues, a Super Cup, and have the players that they do, Kevin. And Thomas Tuchel is a far more proven manager than Mikel Arteta. Come on, Kevin.
So, Sophie, let me ask you a question again. So, because Thomas Tuchel has got a squad that should be winning, yes, they are European champions. That makes it all right for them to be falling like they're doing. That's okay. Is that correct?
I just think your most expensive signing, your marquee signing, coming
Sophie,
out at this. No, Kevin. Let me answer your question. Don't interrupt me.
But you're not answering it.
You just want me to answer it. You want me to answer it your way. And I'm not going to do that.
Sophie, I am going to ask it again.
Jess.
It's two. You guys are talking about two completely different things.
Exactly, Anna. That's what I said.
Like, is Lukaku wrong for what
Lukaku
he's
and the
done
results are separate.
versus, they just scored a third goal.
Yeah, they did.
Or, what about Tuchel in their form?
Results. I'm on about
and their
results,
results.
Jess. Lukaku, I can
No,
deal with
Kevin,
Lukaku after.
we're
I'm on about
talking-
results.
They've had a terrible run of results, but they've also lost a key
does the
player that was
manager-
on fire.
So does the manager get a pass for it? That's
No,
what I'm saying.
Kevin, but the point is he doesn't, but he deserves a bit more respect from Lukaku calling him out in public. He deserves that.
Not for the results.
Kevin, it's not about the results. He's talking about tactics. He's talking about the way Tuchel's playing. He's called out his manager in public.
Yes,
Forget the results, Kevin. He's done a very unprofessional thing.
Sophie, you signed me for 100
I want to get my half-term report in before we leave.
You signed me for 100 million quid and you're not playing me right. I've got a right to come out and say what's going on.
You said that we need to handle stuff in-house all the time, but because it's Chelsea, it's different. Jess, was Lukaku unprofessional with calling his manager out in this manner? Yes or no? And then we'll get your half-term reports.
Yeah, I think so. I personally think it was wrong. Even if you felt that way, if that was anybody on Arsenal, I'd be furious because it's just like, and it wasn't just like the tactics and everything, then started talking about a whole nother club that you want to go to. Like, you've been here for 4 months, and you knew the style of play that they played before you signed that contract. Like, it's weird that it was never a good fit. It was a rush job because they couldn't get Haaland. It's weird. But with what Kevin is talking about, I do hear that aspect of things as well. Tuchel does need to he has to take some of the responsibility because even with key players missing, they still have a really deep squad that before the season started, people were comparing to Man City's squad in terms of quality and depth. So losing Chilwell, although is important, I don't know if it's enough of a thing to be like, well, it's fine what's going on with them in their form. It really isn't. And I seen a little bit from Tuchel where that he kind of had that woe is me thing going on before the Wolves game. For the Wolves game, he was upset that they didn't call off the game and they sulked through the game. So ultimately it does fall on the manager, but the Lukaku thing was trash. And if somebody, like if an Arsenal player did that, I'd be furious, regardless of if Arteta was messing up on the pitch with his tactics. It's two separate things.
Yes. I've chased the listener away. No, they chased themselves away. The point
is
Aaron
Lennon.
Aaron Lennon scored. Tuchel, by the way, deserves a little bit more respect. He's won the Super League and the Champions League. He saved Chelsea coming in when Lampard left. His star play should not be calling him out. Is he culpable for the results of late? 100% absolutely. They haven't won in 5 games at home. We agree on that front. But I'm sorry, what Lukaku did is completely unprofessional. Right, real quick before I get you guys out. I want your quick fire half-term report and then your prediction for Man City. The best half-term report is only up till this point and what has happened now. And by the way, all 350 of you in live chat, hit the like button if you love Kev's coloured bow tie. That's the rule of the house today. And if you hate Tottenham, please caress the like button, give it a kiss, give it a little bit of a, nozzle. Best player in the Premier League so far this season, Jess.
Oh, best player?
Mm-hmm.
Not on Arsenal.
No, we're going to do Arsenal after.
Oh, Mo Salah. Like,
Mo
hands
Salah.
down.
Kev?
Yeah.
Salah.
Okay. Best summer signing in the Premier League.
Aaron Ramsdale.
Kev?
I could go for 2 Arsenal players or I could go for Tobiasu or Ramsdale. But I'm going to go for Ramsdale. I think he's made a real big difference.
Okay. Best manager in the Premier League so far this season. Jess?
I mean, you could give it to Pep, but you might need to look at Arteta for where we are. I mean,
I did that last night and felt really dirty.
Yeah, people said that we were going to be somewhere mid-table and he was in trouble. And now we're sitting in 4th talking about Champions League. But I think you kind of have to give it to Pep. They are looking scary and better than they've ever looked before. So I'll give it to Pep, but Arteta honorable mention.
Kev, what about you? 8 points clear at the top, or does Mikel get your vote?
It's got to be Arteta. So.
There's a shocker.
No, but you expect Manchester City to be up there. It's not. Is there any surprise that Manchester City are performing the way they're performing? No. They could go out and spend 100 million quid on Jack Grealish and put him on the bench. No. Mikel Arteta has come from nowhere, and Arsenal are fourth in the league, and we're talking about up until this point. So up until this point, it could have been David Moyes, because I thought David Moyes was having a really good season, and they've just fell away a little bit. So I think it's Mikel Arteta right now.
And see, guys, this is where you know I don't have an agenda, because last night, I broke chat, just like Kim Kardashian has broken the internet before, when I said Mikel Arteta so far has been the best manager because he was...
Really?
He was... Yes, Kevin.
Wow.
Yes. Ask the squaddies. Tasted like vinegar coming out of my mouth, but that just proves.
Why vinegar?
You know. Okay. So our summer signing is the same as the Premier League, right? Jess, for you, it's Ramsdale or is it Tommy?
Oh, it's Ramsdale for me.
And Kev, is it Tommy or Rambo?
Yeah. I couldn't change it. It has to be.
Who's Arsenal's most improved player so far this season, Jess?
Most improved player for me has to be, as of late, probably Bukayo Saka for me. I think he's adding the finishing touch that he didn't have last season, and he's becoming one of the most scariest wingers to have to play against. He's put so many players on toast over the last 5-6 games. So since the Newcastle game, he's been almost unplayable. So I'm actually going to give it to Bukayo Saka.
Kev?
Yes, ESR for me. Emil Smith-Rowe. Even when he's not starting, he's coming off the bench and he's scoring. You add goals to the quality that he's got. He's going to get his game time as well. I think ESR has been our most improved player.
I don't know if Tammy's joking or telling the truth here, but
she's joking. That Tammy, she's joking.
And we got our token Leicester fan in the house too.
If
they can beat Liverpool, why can't we in the EFL Cup? Come on, Jess. What's your prediction for City?
I'm going to go as positive as I can. 1-1. I would love to see that. I would bite your hand off for it.
1-1, huh? That would be a really, really good result. Kevin, you giving your prediction tonight or tomorrow?
I could give it tonight and tomorrow. I don't mind. Listen, you know me. I always like to be positive as possible, and I would love us to punch them in the mouth and beat them 2-1. Let's pop their balloon. 2-1 to the Arsenal.
2-1 to the Arsenal. Pramod, this is a quick fire question. Would you bring Alexis back on loan? I say absolutely no way. No rearview mirror.
No.
Jess, are you noodling on this? No.
No thanks.
Okay, no thanks.
He's being released from his team or whatever. Absolutely not.
No more rearview mirror. And don't you guys start talk. We love Super Jack. He's one of our best guests so far this year. But no, please stop with the rearview mirror syndrome. Okay. Jess, what is your New Year wish for the Gunners?
Keep up the top 4 challenge. I never thought that we'd even be talking about it at this point. So I'm not going to demand top 4 because it's still going to be a really difficult race, but stay right there. Make sure that you qualify for Europe and keep playing good footy. That's all I can really ask.
I love it. Super Kev, I'm done. Jess had to endure a little domestic, which hasn't happened in a very long time, by the way, Jess.
Jess is used to it. She knows how we get down. You know what? We're talking about 2 different things as well. So I get it. It's all right.
I thought about the other. I settled it. I settled it, Kev.
So we were talking about 2 different things, but that's all right. It's okay. It's New Year's Eve tomorrow, and we've got Kev Says on Friday, and we've got Jessino in the house. Squaddies.
She smashed it again.
Thank you.
Round of applause, as always. Rounds of applause. And the Dicky Bowl is lit. So, Squaddies, we love you. Enjoy, and we're going to see you on New Year's Eve tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, and we want minimum 200 likes. At ease, Squaddies.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury squad.